On this video, we will be testing out two tactics with Tottenham on this tactics battle. It'll be the MurphFM 5231 versus a 3-4-3 Christmas tree-like formation from Josh Daly. Which one will come out on top? If you are new to the Tactics Battle series, the rules are pretty simple. You pick the same team, you have the same fixtures, and you pick two tactics to battle it off against each other. And then we look at how they performed in the league and the cup competitions and pick an overall winner at the end. In this simulation, we are choosing my team, the not so mighty Tottenham Hotspurs. We've got two great tactics that we're testing out here. First up is the MurphFM's Ultimate 5-2-3-1. It is an absolutely baller of a tactic. Murph is a great guy as well. So let's have a look at his tactic here. So it's a sweeper keeper on defend even, three centre-backs on defend, two wing-backs left and right on attack, a box-to-box midfield player on support, one deep line playmaker on support, an inverted winger out on the right wing, and as we know, inverted wingers this year on FM are absolutely OP. And then an inside forward as well on the left-hand side. And then up front is a complete forward, which will suit Harry Kane down to the ground on this simulation. It's a balanced tactic. In possession, it's standard attacking width, pass into space, play out of defence. Passing directness is standard. It's a higher tempo, run at the defence, be more expressive and low crossing. In transition, it's counter press, counter, take short kicks. Out of possession is a high line of engagement and a standard defensive line with triggering the press much more often, and it is a fairly intense tactic. Now let's have a look what this tactic is up against. It's up against Pep's 3-2-4-1 from Josh Daly, another great content creator and another great lad as well. In goal, it's a sweeper keeper on support. We have two wide centre-backs on defend with another centre-back on defend, two holding midfield players, one half-back, one roaming playmaker on support. And then up front, it's absolutely stacked. A winger on the left, a winger on the right on support, two cams, one shadow striker on attack, one advanced playmaker on support, and an advanced forward. This is also a balanced tactic. In possession, it's fairly wide, play out of defence, short passing, high tempo, work the ball into the box with low crosses and dribble less. In transition, it's counter press and hold shape, distribute to centre-backs and take short kicks. Out of possession, it's a high line of defensive engagement and a high defensive line. It's trigger press more often and get stuck in. So a physical tactic, very similar intensities. Now let's take a look at how both of these tactics performed. And we were in for an absolute shock on both of them. As you can see, Tottenham sits 7th, and with 35 games in, the board decided that we were no longer the best person to take control of the club using the tactic that we're using. I think it's a little bit harsh, because Tottenham are in around that same place in real life, and Harry Kane is doing very, very well. He's scoring 25 goals in the season, but it was the results that really, really stood out for Tottenham and the board. They couldn't look past going out of the Champions League in the quarterfinal against Liverpool and losing straight after to Man City and the derby defeat to Arsenal. That's what pushed the board over the edge, and it's a shame because Spurs got to the Carabao Cup semi-final as well, something we haven't done in a long time in real life, and they were absolutely unlucky with the teams that they played in the cup draws. There's some big wins in the season, as you can see, 7-1 against West Brom, and I feel like the board have acted hastily there. I feel like with the last few games of the season, they could have turned it around with the tactic. That could have been 3 wins, and it could have been Europa League football, which is realistic for Tottenham. Now let's have a look at the players and how they did through the season with this tactic. Harry Kane, 37 goals in 43 games. Hyun Son Min, 18 goals and 7. Kulusevski got 13 and 8. Richarlison actually started scoring goals, 7 goals, 6 assists. It's fairly average, and probably one of the reasons why the tactic didn't quite work in this simulation. So I'm going to give this performance a 5.8 out of 10. Let's take a look at how the second tactic got on, and it was no better than the first one. But I think this is really harsh. Only 21 games into the season, 5 defeats already, but 34 points, and not too far off a Champions League place. Did the board act too hastily? I believe so in this simulation. The reasons are, we were in the round of 16 of the Champions League up against Juventus, still in the FA Cup as well. And there was still plenty of games left to go in the season. Who's to say that Tottenham couldn't have got Champions League football had this simulation been allowed to continue? But it's probably the players' performances that got us into this trouble. Harry Kane was struggling. He only got 12 goals in 23 games. Son was top goal scorer with 13 and 4. Kulusevski and Danjuma also performed very well. Richarlison got 7 goals as well. And it was a fairly solid performance all around. It's a shame that this simulation came to an end, because I think if this one had been allowed to run the same amount of time as the Murph tactic, it probably would have outperformed it. So for that reason, I'm going to go for a score draw, because none of these tactics actually performed the way that Tottenham wanted to. And this is an example of when tactics series go wrong and tactic simulations go wrong. And this is no hate to any of the creators. They're both great guys, but these tactics just didn't suit Tottenham. And those were the reasons why that we got sacked on these simulations. But it's good to see that sometimes not everything works out well with the tactic simulations that we do. And there will be more of these videos in the future.